So hello everyone and welcome to the Riverwood Conservancy's webinar, Ontario Turtles. My name is Stephanie. I'm the Community Program Coordinator at the Riverwood Conservancy. I hope you are all doing well and staying safe. I want to say a special thanks to Credit Valley Conservation for making this webinar and other programs at Riverwood possible. Before we get to today's presentation, we have a couple housekeeping notes. All of our webinars for the month of April are now live on the events page, so please register for any that interest you. We also have a trivia night next Tuesday that is limited spots available, and you can find more details out on our events page as well. If you have the financial means today to support our programming and conservation of Riverwood's land, please consider donating at the riverwoodconservancy.org. We would greatly appreciate any sort of contribution. And today we have Dave Taylor back for another great webinar. Dave is a wildlife photographer and the author of more than 40 books on wildlife and ecology. He has produced educational videos and material about wildlife for school curriculum. He's also taught science and geography for more than 30 years and done nature photography and writing for more than 25 years. Dave is also the education program director at the Riverwood Conservancy. Now, before I hand it off to Dave today, the Riverwood Conservancy would like to acknowledge that the land on which we operate is the territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation and the traditional homeland of the Anishinaabe, Wendat, and Haudenosaunee nations. This territory is covered by the Upper Canada treaties and is within the lands protected by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Agreement. Today, this place is still home to many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people, and we are grateful to have the opportunity to live and work on this land. If you have questions today for Dave during the presentation, please type them in the Q&A tab or the chat bar. If you're watching from Facebook, I will be reading the comments and questions as well and bring them back to the group. And I will be posting some resources and links in the chat in just a few moments. And that is all for me. I've talked quite a lot and I'm going to hand it over to Dave now. Welcome, Dave.
Thank you, Stephanie, and welcome to everybody. The topic today is turtles, and in order to get us into that, I've put together some videos and I've combined them into one particular video, and Stephanie will be sharing the links to these videos if you want to see them later on. I'm going to start the video if everything works well, technology being what it is, and then I will come back and talk with you live in just a second, or actually more like 16 minutes. Turtles are a member of the reptile family. That means they're related to crocodilians, which includes the alligators, the crocodiles, the snakes, and the lizards, and a few other types of reptiles that we won't bother with right now. However, turtles are unique. They're very different. The alligator, for instance, is more closely related to birds than it is to turtles. Turtles are an ancient family. The first turtles appear in the fossil record around 175 million years ago. That was during the Middle Jurassic period, when dinosaurs still ruled the earth. And some have little changed in all that time. So what is a turtle? Well, a turtle is characterized by a special bony or cartilaginous shell that's developed from their ribs. This forms a shield over their body. Reptiles were originally all land-living animals, and some did return to the sea. Turtles took up an aquatic life, but they are still reptiles, which means they're ectothermic, or sometimes referred to as cold-blooded, and that means they take the temperature from their surroundings. They must come on land to lay eggs. They cannot give birth or lay eggs in the water. The word turtle can refer to any of three distinct branches. There are sea turtles, there are freshwater turtles, and there are tortoises. Tortoises are turtles that have adapted to live on land. There are 7 species of sea turtles, and this video will feature the green sea turtle, partly because it's the most commonly seen one in beaches like Hawaii, Mexico, or Florida. I've been fortunate enough to spend time with them in Hawaii and in the Galapagos. So the species you're seeing here are the East Pacific green sea turtles. Green sea turtles are the largest of the hard-shelled sea turtles. The leatherback sea turtles can be much bigger. Even so, a green sea turtle can weigh between 200 and 500 pounds, or 100 and 200 kilograms. They are herbivores and spend a lot of their time feeding on seagrass. They'll also eat algae. Green sea turtles like to nest on beaches, the same beaches that we enjoy. A nest can be upwards to 1 meter wide and 1 meter deep, 2 to 3 feet. And they may lay up to 150 eggs. The females then leave the eggs behind and crawl back to the ocean. The young do not get any help from their parents. The young, when they hatch, must make a mad dash to the ocean, and they are preyed on by frigate birds, gulls, herons, just about any bird that's big enough to pick them up. And then once they're in the ocean, they face sharks, a danger they will face for the rest of their lives. Fortunately, many countries have taken steps to allow the sea turtles to successfully nest on their beaches. Sea turtles can be found nesting in over 80 countries, and they feed off the coast of 140 countries. Many beach communities ask people to dim their lights at night. The lights attract the turtles inland. When they come on shore to nest, they use the moon to guide them back to the ocean. We're doing a lot to help these turtles, and with luck they may be around for quite some time. Sea turtles spend virtually all their life in the ocean, but tortoises spend most of their life on land and seldom enter the water to swim. The most famous tortoises in the world live on the Galapagos Islands. These are also the largest tortoises. The Galapagos is a chain of islands that lie in the Pacific Ocean about 1,000 kilometers off the west coast of South America. As land-dwelling animals, tortoises have developed several distinct characteristics. They eat plants, for the most part, and their legs are sometimes referred as elephantine. They're very thick. Tortoises are found in Africa, Asia, Australia, North America, South America, and of course the Galapagos Islands. For the most part, they are a tropical or subtropical species. Tortoises are long-lived animals. Some have been known to live almost 200 years. As a result, they lay very few eggs, at the maximum 20 or so. In North America, there are 2 species of tortoise, the desert tortoise and the gopher tortoise. The gopher tortoise is found in Florida. They are herbaceous and will eat over 300 types of plants, but obviously prefer some types of grasses over others. They live in burrows, which can be 14.5 meters long, or about 48 feet, and 3 meters, or about 10 feet deep. They dig these burrows themselves, and they do spend most of their time there. The burrows provide protection from extreme heat and extreme cold, and also from predators. Unlike other tortoises, gopher tortoises appear to be social and live in colonies made up of other gopher tortoises. They are considered a keystone species. If they're doing well, the environment is doing well. Freshwater turtles can be found on every continent except Antarctica. They all have one thing in common. They all need to be near fresh water. They don't live most of their lives on land, and they cannot tolerate seawater. But within that, there are a wide variety of turtles. Some are called terrapins, sliders, cooters. But whatever they're called, they're still turtles. Some have adapted mostly to an aquatic style of life, but they still must come on land to lay eggs. They are ectothermic, which means they like to bask in the sun, and so many come ashore to get some warmth. Basking exposes them to danger, and so they must be prepared to duck into the water for refuge, and this they do quite quickly. However, they also must make long journeys across the land to get to fresh water, so they are quite mobile. Most have claws for climbing, webbed toes, are covered with scales, and of course have the shell. No turtle have teeth. They cannot breathe underwater, so the nostrils close. Their eyes have a special membrane that allows them to see underwater. Many species of turtles are often found basking together in large groups. There's an advantage to this because in a large group, any one individual is least likely to fall prey to an alligator or other predator. It may seem like they're all dozing, but at least one will have its eyes open, on guard in case any danger should approach. Around the world, turtles inhabit several different types of habitats. They are very omnivorous. They eat insects, they eat plants. Fish also make up part of their diet. Some turtles even hunt. In this case, an egret has died, and the turtles have ganged up on the carcass to finish it off. It will take them a few days before it's completely gone. They are not particularly good swimmers, and they are not particularly good on land. For most species, it is their hard shell that protects them. They cannot walk out of it as they do in cartoons. The snapping turtle, however, is unable to withdraw completely within its shell. This leaves it vulnerable, and so they tend to be aggressive. Turtles are part of the ecosystem. They must get along with other animals. Alligators do not bother large turtles, but smaller turtles are fair prey. Storks will eat baby turtles. Red foxes will dig up nests, and they'll also eat baby turtles. Jaguars can eat adult turtles. Raccoons feed on young turtles and also dig up nests. And nesting is when the turtle is most vulnerable. It must lay its eggs in the sand, and it will lay different clutches. So if one nest is discovered, perhaps another nest isn't. In any case, most turtle eggs are destroyed. Species have different ways of reproducing. Some species, like turtles, have a lot of babies and it's left to luck. Other species, like humans, have fewer babies but invest a lot of time in them, taking care to make sure they grow up safely. But it's not alligators or jaguars or lions or foxes or raccoons or egrets that put turtles at risk. It's people who take over their habitat. In Ontario, we drained a lot of our major marshes, and that really hurt turtles. Turtles crossing roads to breed are run over. We need to give these animals a break. If we leave them alone, they will be with us for a long time. Snapping turtles are a case in point. Not too long ago, we put in regulations to restrict hunting of them, and the numbers have bounced back. By the way, snapping turtles are only found in North America. There are two species, the common and this guy, the alligator snapping turtle. It is the largest terrestrial turtle found in North America. Only sea turtles are larger. Another large turtle found in North America and other places in the world is the soft-shelled turtle. They have long necks, and unlike most turtles, their shell is not hard, hence the name. They are mainly aquatic, living in fresh water. They have elongated, soft, snorkel-like nostrils, and they must be underwater in order to feed. Ontario is home to 9 species of turtle. the Blandings turtle, the eastern spiny soft-shelled turtle, the painted turtle, northern map turtle, the snapping turtle, the wood turtle, introduced red-eared slider, and the spotted turtle. Not shown is the musk turtle. Moving silently through our marshes, wetlands, lakes, and rivers is our largest turtle, the common snapping turtle. Females can weigh over 6 kilograms. Males can weigh over 10. In fact, many do. Snapping turtles eat a variety of foods, including plants and animals. Among the animals are invertebrates, fish, small reptiles, even ducklings. Once hatched, males seldom, if ever, come back on land, but females must come ashore to lay eggs. And this is when they are most commonly seen by people, especially in the spring. Be aware, because the plastron, the bottom part of the shell, does not cover their complete body, these turtles are quite aggressive and will fight back if handled. In the spring, the female searches for a sandy bank in which to lay her eggs. She digs a hole and she carefully positions each egg. Between 25 and 80 eggs are laid, and they will take between 4 and 8 weeks to hatch. By then, mother is long gone. She's returned to the pond. She will stay there the rest of the year, and she will hibernate in the mud at the bottom of the pond. For many of our species of turtles, one of the greatest dangers is crossing roads and being run over by traffic. Please watch out for them. The eastern spiny soft-shelled turtle is one of Ontario's rarest turtles. It is found in the wetlands of southern Ontario. It is most common on the shoreline of Lake Erie. This is our only soft-shelled species of turtle. The red-eared slider is an introduced species. It is the turtle found in pet shops. Unfortunately, it seems to be able to survive southern Ontario winters and is now competing with native species like this Blandings turtle. Blandings turtles are declining in southern Ontario. They require large marshy areas, and as we develop wetlands, this turtle has suffered many losses. The spotted turtle is one of our smallest turtles, only 13 centimeters long. It is found along the north shore of Lake Erie and along the shorelines of Georgian Bay. It likes slow-moving, unpolluted water. A recent study suggests there may be as few as only 2,000 of these turtles left in the province. The wood turtle is easily identified by its red legs. It is found in isolated patches of woodland with clear, freshwater streams. It is not common in the province. While it is not a threatened species, the northern map turtle is a species of concern. It is found in marshes and wetlands from the St. Lawrence right down to the tip of southern Ontario. It often inhabits the same marshes that Blandings turtles can be found in. It also is a neighbor of the painted turtle. The painted turtle is the turtle you are most likely to see. It loves to bask on logs. It is found throughout southern Ontario. Research is being done on it in Algonquin Park, and it is a common sight at Riverwood. This species is a long-lived species, and no one really knows for sure how long it lives. A surprising fact is, as females get older, they become more fertile and lay more eggs. You may well see one of these turtles in your local pond, but what might surprise you is it may walk over a kilometer to a much deeper pond where it will overwinter and hibernate. Ontario's turtles, like turtles everywhere, are well worth helping and trying to preserve. And that's an introduction to turtles. And now very quickly, I'll go through the turtles that are found in our area. And I'm going to have to just set that up. Here we are. So we're going to talk about the turtles in Mississauga and Riverwood. And these turtles are found in both locations and all along the Credit River Valley. So Riverwood has a few habitats that are suitable for turtles. We used to have a pond. Unfortunately, that pond has been overgrown with Phragmites, an invasive plant. The good news is there are going to be steps taken to rehabilitate that pond. This is down in the Column Trail area. The river itself is home to many species of animals, including both of our turtle species. And the turtles that we have here, you will see most often in the spring. They are basking turtles. They come out to warm themselves, and that's also the time when they're laying their eggs. After the spring, during the summer, you do not see these turtles. And all of these pictures, by the way, with the exception of one, these pictures were all taken at Riverwood and just down in the Arendelle Pond. This is a young snapping turtle. You can tell it's not very big by the dragonfly on it. Snapping turtles, males especially, will not leave the water again throughout their entire lives. This one was taken of a turtle that we managed to capture and bring into the classroom for a week or two, and then we released it. Snapping turtles are most vulnerable when they cross roads. This is when they get hit by cars. This is when dogs might molest them. If you should see a turtle crossing the road, try and keep it safe, but that doesn't mean picking it up necessarily. Some people inadvertently, thinking they're being helpful, will pick up a turtle and take it back to the water when the turtle is really going over to the sand over there, and that turtle has to start the journey all over again. If you can let them cross on their own, that's good, but you don't want to hold up traffic. It takes a while for them to lay eggs, and when they're laying eggs, turtles are totally involved. They're not paying any attention to you. You can watch them. You watch as she puts her foot down and positions the eggs. It's quite remarkable. Once she's done, she'll head back to the water. The babies can hatch out by the end of the summer, but in some cases they may overwinter. Temperature is really important to how quickly those eggs hatch, and a cold summer will delay hatching. That's a snapping turtle. They are beautiful animals. If you get a chance to see them, enjoy them. Best time to look for them is in June. This is a painted turtle at Riverwood. They are pretty good climbers. They can get up quite high on trees. They'll stack themselves, and then when somebody comes along, one of them will spot danger, and almost immediately, everyone will go in. These turtles look a lot like the red-eared slider that we have in classrooms, but they are different species entirely and much more tolerant of cold temperatures. They will hibernate, well under 40 centimeters, well over 40 centimeters in the mud. And they will go to the river, or they will go to some place where there's water that's deep enough. And their hibernation is called bromation. It's a little bit different than the hibernation bears do, in that their temperature drops so low. They basically have almost like antifreeze in their bodies. This one is laying its eggs on the McEwen lawn. And if you were to go to Riverwood now, you would find that there is no McEwen lawn. The McEwen lawn was taken over by the McEwen Gardens. McEwen lawn and the area around our old pond was sandy, and that was ideal for turtles laying eggs. And hopefully these turtles will return to Riverwood and that pond once it's reestablished. Now we're going to take a look at the next one, which is the red-eared slider. It's coming up in a second. This is a red-eared slider. And if you look just behind the eye, you can see this red stripe where its ear would be. Turtles do not have external ears. So calling it a red-eared slider, that's kind of an unusual term, but it's where the red is and it's where the ear would have been. So they call it a red-eared slider. It's called a slider because it slides so quickly off whatever place it's basking. These are very nervous turtles. Another term you might hear for turtles is terrapin. Terrapins were small turtles, usually found in the woods, that were considered good for eating. But whether you call them terrapins, sliders, turtles, tortoises, they can all be grouped as turtles. And again, just a review of Ontario's turtles. Blanding's turtle, we found one at Riverwood, and it was probably left there by a pet owner. They're just not found there. We're not big enough. Spiny soft-shelled turtle is found further south, down around Lake Erie. Wood turtle, very rare in the province. I think we had one sighting of a wood turtle a few years ago. I don't think a spotted turtle has ever been found here. It's further south in Ontario. Same with the northern map turtle. I look for it in marshes, large marshes. So that's the audio visual done. Let's take some questions. I'll stop the share. And Stephanie, if we have any questions, happy to take them.
Yes, we have lots of questions. And I'll just say before we continue, if you are watching with your class today, if you don't mind putting in the chat on Facebook or in Zoom, the grade level that you are and how many students are watching with us today, that'd be greatly appreciated. Great presentation and awesome video, Dave. I loved it. And I think you can watch it on Dave's YouTube page as well, right, Dave?
Yes, it's up. Just go to my davetaylorwildlife.com page and click on SW videos. Or there's a page I set up for teachers with questions on turtles. And then don't tell the kids. Kids, if you're listening, ignore this. The answers are also there. And there's some additional pictures and other resources you might find useful. And I think you're going to post it as well, Stephanie, aren't you?
Yep, they're all actually in the chat right now. So
Good.
it's under support materials on turtles. You just click on that link and they'll be there as well. So we have lots of questions coming through.
Okay.
The first one that I found very interesting is from Jean, and she said, are turtles dangerous to people and are they predators to other animals?
I cannot think of a situation where turtles would be dangerous to people unless you're really foolish enough to try and pick up a snapping turtle. They will bite. Our teachers have been bitten. I've been bitten by the pet turtles. I mean, the turtles get cranky. But I don't think there's any such thing as a man-eating turtle. They're just not something you need to worry about. Even swimming with the sea turtles, and they were quite large, I was never worried about any risk. Although it did occur to me that they were eaten by lemon sharks and tiger sharks. And I thought, that maybe worried me a bit more. So you don't have to worry about the turtles. They're fine. Most of them will consume some animal matter, but most of them, in fact, I think just about all of them, are largely vegetarian. The snapping turtle will take ducklings and will take other turtles, but for most turtle species, the animal material they eat is when they're young, like insect larvae. And that might include mosquito larvae. So that's good for us. So they're healthy.
Another question from some 4-year-olds. How is a shell attached to the turtle?
Imagine you have ribs, and you do. Imagine on top of those ribs, you grew a thick layer of cartilage, bone. That's what turtles do. They grow it on the top and they grow on the bottom. They cannot be separated. If you were to cut open a turtle's shell, you would kill the turtle. It's part of their backbone. It's part of the front part of them, the plastron. So it's just like they've grown this outside of their ribs. I don't know how better to explain it. Just be glad you don't do it. But they cannot walk out of their turtle shells like they do in cartoons. That would be the end of them.
Susanna has asked, how do they communicate with each other?
Well, they dance. We had some of the turtles you may have seen Stephanie or our other staff showing you. One of those turtles was in my classroom back in 1990 at Hazel McCallion, and it's still alive and doing well. And I had a male turtle that I put in with it. And what it would do is it would swim up to the female and it would get its paws like this and it would start to wave them. And this was supposed to be very enticing for the female turtle. In our case, she did not find it too enticing and attacked the little male, but they dance. How they find each other, I imagine they would release scents in the water. But turtles know where to find other turtles and seem to be able to do it. It's not like the toads though, like if you go down Riverwood, when the toads are mating and singing, there's a lot of conflict I've never seen turtles in conflict. Actually, no, I did once in the Galapagos. A couple of giant tortoises, males, were having a little battle over a female. It's a very slow fight with tortoises, but, not much action. But one of them was a victor.
There's been a lot of questions actually about how people can help turtles in their own backyards. A couple people have said that they've had blanding turtles at their cottage. Someone from Facebook, I believe Nancy, had said that she had blanding turtles nesting at her cottage. Someone else said they want to make their backyard accessible to the turtles that come from the pond. So I'm wondering if you have any like individual ways people can help these turtles in their backyards.
Well, if you're fortunate enough to see a turtle nest, what you could do is put a small fence around it, like just some sticks and some chicken wire. That'll protect the nest from raccoons and foxes. And then when they hatch, make sure that the babies are able to get to the water. Otherwise, don't interfere. Don't trample on it. Don't let dogs dig in it. Turtles are pretty good at taking care of themselves. So if a turtle comes up onto your property to lay eggs, let it do its job and don't interfere. Don't try and pick it up and put it back in the water. You can protect it against dogs. And if it's a slow moving traffic street, you might want to just stop the traffic and let the turtle cross and do its thing. You can provide habitat. If you put in a sandy trough or whatever, they may well choose to lay their eggs in it. People that breed turtles do that, I believe. We tried it in Riverwood and set up a sandy thing. So far, no luck, I don't think. But turtles, just leave them alone, give them space. If you're in a motorboat, take care when you're around the marshy area that you don't run into a turtle. And don't be afraid of them, enjoy them, look at them. And it goes the same is true for water snakes that you might see. The best thing you can do is protect habitat. Get out and thank people for doing that, your politicians for protecting marshes. Encourage people to be aware that marshes are really valuable habitats. We've lost so much due to farming and agriculture, especially along Lake Erie and Lake Ontario, that it's really gratifying to hear that Mississauga, for instance, when they do this new development down in the lakeshore, they're going to be putting in a marsh apparently. That is really good news for turtles. It's really good news for the environment because marshes aren't just for turtles. They're places where young fish can survive, where we can get snakes, we can get a whole degree of wildlife coming in, and they're important. So support conservation areas and enjoy turtles. Go looking for them.
We're getting lots more questions, Dave. So
Okay.
I hope you're ready for them all.
I'm ready.
So a couple of questions about hibernation. How do they know when to come out of hibernation in the spring was from Cassandra. And how do they breathe when hibernating buried in the mud?
Well, apparently they breathe through their butts. The skin there is porous and they can take what little air in that they need, not through their lungs like you would think they would do. But lots of animals exchange gases through their skins. That's not that unusual. And it just happens that the back end of the turtle is an area where they have some exposed skin, I suspect. Getting in and out of, we think that when the temperature goes up like it did last week, that it's really bad for nature, that the animals are all going to come out and the blooms are all going to come out and they're all going to die when we get a cold snap. And usually, in my experience, the animals have adapted to that. It takes them a while. They don't just suddenly, on a 70 degree or 20 degree Celsius day, become active turtles. It takes time. They have to get their bodies readjusted. And if it gets cold, they just simply go back and return. They also, I think, have a bit of a built-in sense when it's going to be consistent. Now, remember, too, that they live in water. Now, I was out walking today. The temperature was -6 with the wind chill, but there was lots of open water. That water was at 0 degrees. In fact, it was probably warmer than that. So turtles, by living in the water, kind of mitigate the temperature changes. So they're able to survive when we might be feeling quite cold. The water temperature might be 36, 40 degrees, and they may just go back in and go in the mud. Where they do get into trouble is if a pond isn't deep enough. For instance, the little pond at Riverwood that we have out in front of the building, if it freezes right to the bottom, which is about 4 feet, then any turtle that was in there would be dead. They just can't survive that. But as long as there's some water, a little bit of moisture above them, they're able to survive quite nicely. So they're better adapted in short to this type of temperature changes than we think. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to survive here. The red-eared slider, which is the introduced species, isn't as well developed and adapted to this. So it's surprising to see that they're getting to be like this big down in Sam Smith Park. And they have seen babies around, so they are breeding. So it's just another sign that climate change is happening and these species are able to come up here and do well. Little aside, sorry. Next question.
Oh, it's great answers. I'm kind of combining questions together right now because they're coming in. Quintana has asked, how strong are the turtle shells? And then somebody else asked that if turtles have predators, how do the predators hurt the turtle shell if they're so strong?
An alligator, which has very powerful jaws, is hard pressed to break through an adult turtle shell. That's why you see pictures like you saw in my video of a turtle basking beside an alligator. They just can't crunch down. But a smaller turtle, its shell is more vulnerable. The soft-shelled turtle is particularly vulnerable because its shell is soft. Having said that, the shell is pretty good protection. Raccoons don't bother with large turtles. They might be able to attack a snapping turtle because its shell isn't as long and is all encompassing. But the snapping turtle can bite through your finger and bite through a stick. I remember once up in Algonquin Park when I was working there, somebody found a snapping turtle in the parking lot and they wanted to pick it up and they put a stick out and the stick was about this thick and the snapping turtle bit right through it. There are proper ways of handling snapping turtles. This guy wasn't doing it right. But most animals, even a bear, would be hard pressed to dine on a snapping turtle, especially a large one. But smaller ones, even a herring can swallow them, and just the stomach juices will digest the turtle. So most baby turtles, I think one study in Ontario suggested 99% of the babies don't survive. I think that was up in Algonquin Park, right, Stephanie?
Yeah.
I can see you nodding. The survival rate of young animals is really low. It is as they get larger. And that's true of bunny rabbits. When you see all these bunny rabbits, little babies hopping around, most of those baby bunnies aren't going to survive. But if they make it to a year, they're likely to make it to 3 or 4 years, which is the lifespan of a bunny rabbit. And the same with turtles. The bigger they are, the more likely they are. I mean, even those green sea turtles, as big as they are, face predation by sharks, which are huge, some of the sharks, and yet the species continues on. It's, they seem to be able to cope.
And I guess kind of going off that, if you were to find a turtle, this is a question from Jamie on Facebook. If you were to find a turtle that was hurt or its shell was broken, what do you do?
You can take it to a vet. And I know from talking to people that work with wildlife rehab, they can actually make a cast and recreate the shell for the turtle. It's sort of like a very hard bandage, really. And often they're able to re-release the turtle. If it is so badly damaged, it can't survive. But there are many rehab places. There's one in Toronto, right, Stephanie? That specialize in wildlife rehab.
Yeah, there's a Toronto Wildlife Rehabilitation Center. I think I'm saying that correctly. There's one in Kawartha Turtle Trauma Center. But like Dave said as well, if you call around to vets nearby too, there are some vets that will take in wild turtles. and they'll pass them along to a wildlife rehabilitation center, or they'll try to fix them up as well too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's tons of people that you can contact if you need help and you find a turtle.
Yeah, their help is definitely out there for sure. Just on the topic of sliders, if you do have a pet red-eared slider, keep it as a pet. Do not re-release it into the wild. Every now and again, a couple turn up at Riverwood. They really are not good for our environment. I don't want them to be hurt or killed or anything, but if you buy them as a pet, keep it as a pet. And that's what we've done. We used the Metro Zoo used to take them in. I think they got so many they've stopped doing that. So they are long-lived pets. I mean, the ones in Riverwood, the oldest female is probably 40 years old now, 45, almost as old as me. Be nice, be nice. Next question.
Next question. We have a lot of questions just about facts about turtles. How old turtles can live, what is the oldest turtle that can live, the size of turtles, and how many eggs they lay. Do you want to tackle any of those questions, Dave?
All right. Turtle ages really are hard to come by because honestly, we've only really started to study turtles seriously, I guess, in the 50s, maybe before that. But some of these turtles are still alive, and this is in Ontario. The Midland painted turtle, I read when I was doing an article back in 2009, the research article I worked from suggested they did not know at that time how long these turtles live. Could be 40, could be 50, could be 60 years. It's not like they're going to live forever, but their lives, we're just starting to learn about that. Now, we do have good data on the Galapagos tortoises. Some of those have lived 190 years. When I was in the Galapagos a few years ago, a tortoise that had been alive when Charles Darwin was there in 1813, 1814, whatever it was still alive. So it was almost 200 years old. There's quite a longevity to them. Now, as for the number of eggs they lay, that varies. The longer the turtle lives, the fewer eggs it has to live, because basically the whole point of reproducing is to make sure your species carries on. So the way the turtles do it, they have a lot of babies, and over the years, you hope that one or two are still around to replace you. And if you're very successful, the numbers will go up. With snapping turtles, I think they lay 30 to 40 eggs. Painted turtles lay 8 to 10 eggs in a clutch, I believe, but they may have several clutches. So they're being smart. They're not putting literally all of their eggs in one basket. They're here, there, and everywhere in the hopes that the raccoons and the foxes won't find them. You're trying to overwhelm the predators. Some turtles lay a lot of eggs, like the sea turtles will lay upwards to 100 eggs, maybe more. But the survival rate is so bad because when they hatch, gulls from all over just flock in. I'm sure you've seen the videos of frigate birds and gulls coming in. So, and as to the size of turtles, a snapping turtle will weigh maybe 22, 23 kilograms and be a good size one would be like big. A good size Galapagos tortoise is huge. I mean, you could ride on it literally and you wouldn't be hurting it. And yet some turtles are quite small. So there's, I think, 398 species according to one source and maybe 300 to another. There are a lot of species of turtles in the world. Some of them are large, some of them are not quite big, they're quite small. So our painted turtle, I think, is one of the medium range ones.
I think we'll take 2 more questions.
All right.
Just as I'm looking at the time here. And I'm sorry for everyone if we don't get to your questions today, but if you email me or Dave, and I'll put our emails in down below in a second, we can try and get to all of your questions that you have. One question that I found very interesting was, is there a dinosaur ancestor to the tortoise or turtle?
No. Dinosaurs and turtles are not related very closely. The reptile family, when it branched into several areas. Turtles became one of them, and a group called the archosaurs became another. And at that time, they're reptilian-like mammals. So the ancestors of the tortoise were well on their way to becoming turtles and tortoises before the first dinosaur ever existed. The archosaurs, they became alligators and crocodiles. Those are the living archosaurs. They also became the dominant reptiles on land. And this would be really the Jurassic period, I think. Some question about the date when the first turtles arrived, but the dinosaurs came out of this other group, and they would eventually lead to becoming birds. And even then they were splitting off. But so you have the turtles way back here and going off in their own way, then the archosaurs, then the alligator group going off, and then the dinosaurs going off, and then finally the birds. And it's very convoluted, but a dinosaur is most closely related to birds than it is to, well, then it's alligators, and then way down the road, it's the turtles. So it just, and then you got snakes in there, and you got sea reptiles. So it's a very complicated family tree for reptiles, but they're not closely related, is the short answer.
Awesome, thank you.
Uh-huh.
And I guess we're going to end off on a question that is often asked about turtles. And why are turtles so slow, Dave?
Why would you have to be fast when you wear your own tank? Evolution is at work here. And I imagine, like a turtle, when it has to get off a log, is pretty fast. Too fast for you to catch. And a turtle, even though they're not great swimmers, can certainly outswim me. So speed is relevant. I guess they developed the speed they needed to survive. But even if a lion catches a tortoise, like about this big, the lion can't do anything with the tortoise. And we're talking a mature lion. So if you just curl up and hide, all you do is get rolled around. It works most of the time. I can't think of another reason. You develop speed if you got to get away. These guys don't have to get away. Anyhow, all of the videos that you saw are available on my channel. You're welcome to use them. And if you're a teacher or an educator, download them and use them in your classroom. I hope they're available on Riverwood's channel as well. Looking forward to seeing you. I guess what's up for me next? It's Bear Book.
You have a wildlife talk coming up too.
Oh yeah, cool.
You have all sorts of programs coming up.
So check the schedule. We're on. I know I'm doing something just about every week coming up in April.
Yeah.
It's great to celebrate Earth. If you follow me on Facebook, I am posting pictures of wildlife of the world. Mondays, Africa Day, Tuesdays, Europe Day, Wednesdays, South America, Thursdays, North America, and Friday is Ontario with a focus on Riverwood. So
awesome.
You think of Riverwood and think of, even if you're looking at turtles far off, the turtles at Riverwood, if you care for them, you're caring for the turtles in the Galapagos and other places. So keep thinking turtles, folks.
Awesome.
Thank you, Stephanie, as always. Wonderful job.
Thank you, Dave. Thanks for joining us. That was a great presentation, and so many questions are coming in for you. So I'm sure we'll be answering some emails later on. But I have posted some links in the chat with Dave's resources for everyone, and also the events calendar. And if you have the financial means to donate to the Riverwood Conservancy, we'd greatly appreciate that as well. A special thanks again to Credit Valley Conservation for making these programs possible. And I think I will see you all at the next one. We have tons of events coming up in April, so I hope to see all of you there. And thanks again, Dave. Everyone's
my pleasure.
And we'll see you at the next
Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.